guys, it's Kiara and I'm back with another video. So today's video I have my special guest, my fiance CJ. So today we're going to talk about the things that we valued when it came to looking for apartments versus the things that we now value now that we've been in our apartment for like what, 6 months now?
6 months. Yep.
Six-ish months now. So one of our really popular videos was us searching for apartments in the North Carolina area, in Raleigh area, and then another popular video was my actual move-in apartment video. So we figured why not do a video about, you know, things that we value, things that we thought we would value versus things that we actually value. So this is kicking off like a guest segment because he will be here. We'll be doing videos. I'm trying to have him like up here once a month, but we'll see how that works. So we're gonna get started with the video. I'm not gonna talk as much as I just did, and so we're gonna get started with the video.
So when we first started looking for apartments, we had like a big overall view of what we wanted. We wanted 100 of things, a laundry list of things from perfect location, perfect apartment, perfect view, all in order. But when you start looking at apartments in the area with your budget and everything in mind, those things that you want start dwindling down further and further and further. So we went into a basic decision matrix in a way of the 5 things we prioritize of what we want and value in the apartment. The first thing we looked into was the location of our apartment. Number one, going deep into it, is the location and proximity to my job.
Yeah, it was his job. Like I work from home, so nothing was relevant to me. Whereas if you might be 2 people, it might be, okay, what's the difference from my job to, you know, your job? Is one person gonna have an hour drive? Is one person gonna have 45-minute drive? Like, what's that look like? But for him, he works on different projects, so we were kind of looking at it from his office location and then also looking at his job site location. So we found that happy medium of, okay, you probably don't have but what, like no more than 45 minutes.
Yeah, so actually with this one location, it worked out perfectly for it to be just 15 minutes each way. And so it will change, but we're in a centralized location where if it does go to a different location, I'm still within that 20-30 minute radius at max. Even if I'm lucky at this time being in 15 minutes, so yeah, that worked out perfectly.
So that was something that we valued beforehand, and that's something that we still value now. And then going into location, like the safety of our apartment building, we were very like, that's my number one thing because I'm at home all the time, so I want to make sure that I feel safe always. I'm like, I don't ever want to feel in danger, especially when he's not here. So safety was like, it went into the location for us. So whether that was the city, the area we were staying in, because there are some, like, what do you call those, like some sub areas of Raleigh that aren't as safe as the other ones, so we made sure to, you know, kind of avoid those areas and kind of look for those more safe. With some of those more safe areas, it's funny because we actually live close to like a city that has been ranked the #1 safest place to live in America, quote unquote. So I feel pretty safe.
And that's just a basic drive around the area. You know, every city's gonna have its good and bad parts, so you just gotta, when you scout out the areas, just drive around the different areas, drive around it at night. Just see what's around the area, and that can kind of tell you what the vibe is for that area that you're going to be in. But also location, it came into convenience of like different stores nearby. Yeah, that was very big. Like, that's something I think now
I value that way more than I did.
Getting up to try to, you know, go to different locations, different stores is so convenient when it's right beside you, and you don't have to make that long drive just to get something you need and come back home. So
yeah, definitely, because we go grocery shopping, but then when it's time to cook, there are times where I'm like, oh, I forgot to get that when we went grocery shopping. I can just run out like 5 minutes. I don't have to go 15 minutes down the street. I can just go literally the next stoplight and be at a grocery store of some sort. So that was really, and we got some good shopping centers near us, so I can't even complain. We got a nice Target. I'm always at Target.
So I think that wraps up location. I think all in all, it's just the location and proximity to your job, the location in regards to security and safety, location in regards to what's convenient around you, and did I miss anything?
I don't think so. Yeah, so that was definitely something that we valued beforehand, and that's something that we value even more now.
I think it's when the top.
Yeah, that's number one. So the second thing that we valued beforehand and that we do value now as well is the cost of our apartment. And when we say cost, we're talking about the base rent of our apartment, not the total. Yeah, right?
The total of all the other...
Yeah, the base rent plus
utilities
plus
and
all the other fees that we have.
Yeah,
so not just that number that you see online when you are searching for an apartment. Like if you have a budget of $1,500, you shouldn't go searching for apartments that cost $1,500 because that's gonna be out of your budget after you throw in the fees. So we valued the cost of our apartment overall. We got a really good...
Yeah, so I think overall we're in a blessed situation that we're in an area that the cost of living isn't skyrocketing. It's not huge. Like if you go to major cities from like in California to New York, you're gonna have a hard time finding an apartment that's within your budget and it's something that you really want. So you might have to make some sacrifices in different areas.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think it was great that we're in this location, that we're able to have these discussions. Okay, we can move a little, not into like the main heart of Raleigh, we move outskirts or move in different locations that make the overall budget work. And that helped us a long way. Because now looking at it, it's a lot of things we were trying to shoot for. We was like, that would have been nice, but this is actually
not worth it in the long
run.
run.
It's not worth it at all. So
yeah, what we have to be completely transparent, what was our budget? Like 14 max? I think we didn't want to go, like we was like 14 is the highest that we want to go, 1,400. And so when we first started looking at apartments, of course I was looking at the ones that were like 1,400, and then we have a dog, so we have to pay the dog fee and rent. And so once you start adding those fees, you get to like 16, 25, 15, 70, and it's like, okay, wait, that's not my budget. So we had to go look down. If we have a budget of 1,400, we have to look at like apartments that are like 1,100, 1,200. You know, that was kind of like our sweet spot. And thankfully, we were able to find this apartment, which we actually was able to save a lot of money on in the long run because I was stalking their page like every day, their website, watching the prices jump up and down. So we were able to secure the price at its lowest point with COVID and everything. It was great.
He's not even doing that. He's just laying down barking.
Why are you barking?
But it makes it way easier now. Like when we're looking at our budget, it's no stress at all when it comes to like living in our apartment, and we have everything we need. And you realize like you can really save money when you just focus on what you value, and then all the extra stuff and all the extra amenities you don't need to really worry about because it's just like what you truly value, what you truly need, and then that works your budget way better than trying to go outlandish and get all this extra stuff that when you look at it, it doesn't weigh up. The money doesn't weigh up with what you actually value in a sense.
Because when we were looking at our budget, our apartment is what percent of like our
25%.
Yeah, so it's like no more than 25% of our
monthly income.
Yeah, so with that way, it's like I want to say we have like a safety, like it feels like a safety net. I don't know if it will be considered one, but it feels like a safety net. Like he pays the bills really good. So like he'll be like, I paid February rent and it's January. And I'm like, oh, okay, so if anything happened, we got a place to stay for a month. We can figure something out. So yeah, the price of our apartment is something that we definitely valued beforehand, and it's something that we still value now. Like we are still, yeah.
Yeah, most financial professionals say 25% of your monthly income, but it really depends on your situation, your location, so it differs for everybody. And I always say you invest the most into what you spend your most time in. And so if your rent goes above your, your budget, you're spending the most time at your home. That's where you want to feel comfortable at. So it's going to differ for different people, but that's what the target was for us.
So the next thing that we valued beforehand that we don't so much value now, we don't use, but maybe no. Amenities. I think this is more of a me thing. This wasn't really him. He's very like, let's be realistic. Are we going to use this? But me, all those perks, all those features, they're like, we have a clubhouse and a game room and a dog park and a fitness center and all of this.
A car maintenance location
Okay,
where you can wash your car and do all that stuff.
I do go there. But those amenities are not as important as they try to make them seem. So one thing when we were looking at apartments that kind of was a red flag to us, if the first few pictures of the complex are just them showing off like the clubhouse and the swimming pool, and then they put the apartment pictures towards the end, you might want to stay away from it. I mean, because if your apartment looks nice, you're going to want to show that off first and have the amenities be the last thing. But I was definitely someone who was like, oh my gosh, they have a dog park. They have, the dog park was the thing that was getting me. I was like, yeah, me and Turbo, we're going to go play at the dog park every day.
Don't use that.
I ain't been to dog park but like 2 times and we've been here for about 6 months. Yeah. But, and Turbo don't even like the dog park, so.
He just like walks. He don't even like playing in that dog. He just stands there like, okay.
He's like, what am I'm an inside dog. What am I supposed to do out here with these other dogs? So amenities are definitely something to kind of like be weary of, because it's like they try and sell you on them, which amenities are great, but you have to be realistic. Like, okay, are we actually going to use this? Because
you have to think about it like a business too. All apartment complexes are a business, so they're going to give you those amenities to sell you on it, number one, and also it's a way they can raise rent as well, just showing off the swimming pool, showing off the fitness center. Mm-hmm. And 9 times out of 10 most people aren't going to use it, but that's what most people remember when they try to buy the apartment, rent at that apartment complex. So
yep, because
sell a point for them.
Yeah, because even when we were like comparing some of our apartments, like we were like, okay, what amenities do they have? Even though like I said, that's something that we valued then. So that was something for me. I was like, well, this one doesn't have a dog park. Like this one's dog park doesn't look nice. So I actually think we actually like crossed one off our list because the dog park was ugly, but it's okay. We actually have a nice looking dog park. We got a nice swimming pool and grill and all that. The amenities are great, but it's not something that you.
That grill.
Yeah, we haven't used it though. So
nobody gonna get out your apartment to walk to the grill. Nobody gonna get out your apartment to walk to the
take these meats over to the grill.
Yeah, so
so amenities are something that you can, be informed about, but don't make it something that is like a major deal breaker for you, because chances are you're not even gonna use it. So the next thing that we personally valued, like when we were searching for apartments, are the ratings of the actual complex. So when you Google the apartment name, how many stars does it have? If you go on Facebook, do they recommend it? Do they not recommend it? Things like that. So I believe our actual complex has like 3.5 stars. And I really want to emphasize, like, the rating is important, but it's also important that you go in and read those ratings, because some of those ratings are people only leave ratings when they have a really good experience or they have a really bad experience. So people who are rated these complexes 1 stars, in their comment is like, oh, my neighbor took my parking spot and leasing didn't do anything about it. Like, that doesn't really have anything to do with the complex. You're just upset. And so it's important to, because you might dismiss some apartment complexes because you might be like, oh, they have 2.3 stars, like I don't want to live there. But actually read the reviews, like why do they have 2.3 stars? Now if they got like roaches and rodents and maintenance issues and break-in, that might be something to be like, okay, never mind. But if it's something like, oh, they didn't take my trash out, they parked in my parking spot, I have a reserved spot, like little personal complaints is not worth the 1-star review. But at the same time, these businesses can't alter the reviews because it's like an honest system. So all they can do is respond to the person and be like, hey, sorry you had that inconvenience, how can we help? But they can't remove it. So it's worth going through and reading some of them. And then just reading the ratings and like seeing how many there are. So like our complex has 3.5 stars, but it has like over 100 ratings. So it's pretty balanced, whereas like you might have a complex that has 5 stars and it has 2 ratings. That's a red flag itself, because you can't have all those residents and ain't nobody looking
unless it's a new apartment.
Unless it's a new apartment, because like that one, it didn't have reviews yet because they were still building it. But then at the same time, if it has like 1 star and they have, again, 2 reviews, it's like, okay, they might need some more chances. Let's see if we can get them back up. So it is something to pay attention to, but it's also not something that should be like, oh, this is a deal breaker for me. They have 3 stars. That's it. Like, no, that's not. And as you can tell, that was something that was really important to me, not as important to him. He was just like...
I'm more of a type of person that likes to walk the apartment. I think that's really important as well. Make sure you walk the apartment, see where you're going to be living at, and also just walk and look for like different warning signs when you walk inside the building. Look for different, when you're driving around the complex, to see who has different external or, you know, those HVAC units to help supply their heating and cooling, because maybe the system has been broken. Or just walk inside the building and see if you see any like streaks in the ceiling, any creak sounds and things like that. You can see the quality of the apartment from the age of the apartment, and also just when you walk the building, just look around and see things. So that kind of reflects on the maintenance and how much upkeep is needed.
Then another element that kind of affected how we searched for our apartments was just the number of rooms that they had, and make sure that they fit into our budget, because I work from home, I run my business from home, so I wanted a second room to serve as my office. So while it's just the two of us, we could have gotten a 1-bedroom. We actually did look for something that had like dens that I could maybe make my office space, but I'm actually glad that we went with the 2 beds. So, you know, just looking at the number of bedrooms and making sure that it aligns with your budget as well. So those are all the things that we paid attention to before we moved into our apartment. So we was looking for all those things while we were shopping. So there are a few things that we actually left off that we didn't actually think to value at the time, but we now value now.
The location of the apartment within the apartment complex. It's something we looked at, but it's like when you go to the leasing office, they tell you what they have available. You kind of pick from there, and we end up getting lucky in our location.
It's perfect.
Yeah, you want to make sure you're not in the back corner of the apartment complex, you know, right
in the cut where people like to rob you and leave you, and you don't want to be, you know, well, for us, it was me thinking about, okay, YouTube videos and recording videos, am I going to be in a well-lit area? So I know the other option they had gave us that we could have moved into, it was like, what, first floor?
Yeah.
It was like some trees in the way. We was like, okay, that ain't gonna be the best for the natural light. So when we were able to check this unit out, we were like, yeah, this is gonna be good. We got lots of natural light. We're also on the top floor, so we don't have any noise neighbors above us. We get to make all the noise, but we try to be nice about it. What else is there? I feel safer up here on the 3rd floor because I don't feel like anybody would try and rob anybody on the 3rd floor.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing too, because when you're on the 1st floor, we have like apartments that has like balconies. And on the 1st floor is like you can walk outside and you can like really walk on somebody's balcony.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a safety thing. I was concerned about seeing those 1st floor apartments, and I was saying 3rd floor because I had experience when I was in college with the 1st floor apartments. So 3rd floor, the walk is kind of crazy, like walking up the steps every time. But
I'll be out of breath, y'all. My knees.
When you look at like your location and your view of everything and like the lighting you get, and not worrying about noisy neighbors above you every night, that's a blessing in itself.
Yeah, so location, not even like the city or where you're gonna stay, but like of the actual complex. That's something that we didn't even consider until I think the day we actually came to look, and we were like, okay, let's check out the apartments, and then we was like, oh, that location, and then Snakes was over there. Like I was like, I don't think that's gonna be good. So I'm so glad that we chose this location, and now that's something that if we ever move out, we're going to move out eventually, but and when we choose to move somewhere, if we move to another complex, that's something that we'll know to look at also, so we don't make any mistakes and accidentally move somewhere where we don't like.
Yeah, so that's what I talked about earlier, just looking at your condition of your apartment. We're, again, blessed to have an apartment that was good quality. We haven't had any concerns at all with maintenance. And so, like...
We had the one thing when we moved in, but that was like a...
Oh yeah, that was like you're gonna have those few things when you move in, when you say, okay, this is some things that we want to adjust and update it, so we won't be charged for it.
Right.
But other than that, like ever since we moved in, we haven't had any issues at all with maintenance and making sure the quality of apartment is good. Because I know some people my friends that moved into apartments and like they having like problems with like everything in the apartment, from like the doors falling off to stuff being loose, and they gotta call maintenance every other day. But that's a blessing that we walked into when we picked this apartment, because number one, we can tell that it was a well-constructed building. It's a newer apartment. Everything looked and checked off our list when it comes to like the aesthetics and how everything looked and how it felt.
Yes.
Like it was good, but it wasn't like a beatable apartment. So you want to make sure you're investing in something that you know you won't have issues with. 'Cause that's the last thing you're gonna be worried about.
And also, when you're touring these apartments, check the water pressure, because if you're like me, you like water pressure, and you like the water to be hitting you and like beating your back. So so check the water pressure. CJ thought it was crazy whenever we would tour. I would turn on the water. I'm like, all right, let's see how this shower runs. Let's see how hot it gets in here. Let's see how hard the water is. But it's definitely something that you want to pay attention to, because if you get somewhere and you got low water pressure, it can be frustrating, just from someone who has lived in both a low water pressure and a high water pressure apartment. Definitely something that I value now and that I did value beforehand, but something that you might not think about. I know in my when we were touring and I uploaded that vlog, a lot of people were like, I do the same thing. I always check the water pressure. So I think that's a girl thing. So I might not be alone in that. Okay, so that's all we have for this video. We really wanted to give our insight on how we valued apartments when we were searching for them versus kind of what we value now. We really wanted to be a resource for young adults, post-grad, people
That's
who are...
a big move.
It's a big move. So people who are just getting out of school really want... I mean, we don't do everything perfect, but we have been able to do quite a few things. I wouldn't say the right way, but we've been doing them in a way that has us comfortable. It has us financially secure, in a sense. And, it just gives us peace of mind. So we wanted to make sure that I have him here as a guest so we can talk about topics and things that, you might not be able to find elsewhere, or you might be too ashamed or afraid to ask about post-grad. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Did you enjoy being my guest?
I did.
So he's going to be on here more often. So if you do have any video questions or recommendations or topics for us to talk about, please drop them in the comments. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. And I will see you guys next time.
See y'all.
He going to watch football.